Imagine locking the front door to like a massive, impenetrable bank vault. You turn on the laser grid, you arm the elite security guards, and you just feel completely untouchable.
Right.
And then you suddenly realize someone accidentally propped the back door wide open with a brick.
Yeah, which totally defeats the whole setup.
Exactly. And in the digital world, that brick is just a single misconfigured cloud storage setting. I want to take you back to early 2024. A globally recognized Fortune 500 retailer made these massive headlines, and it wasn't for a product launch.
No, it definitely was not a product launch.
No, it was because highly sensitive customer data was suddenly exposed to the open internet. And, everyone assumed it was this sophisticated nation-state cyber heist, but it wasn't. It was literally just a storage bucket left open by mistake.
Yeah, and the fallout from that single flip switch was just catastrophic. I mean, millions of dollars in immediate regulatory fines basically evaporated their quarterly margins.
Just gone.
Poof, gone. And that's coupled with a level of reputational damage that, frankly, takes decades to repair. And incidents mirroring that exact scenario are really becoming the defining cybersecurity crisis of our current decade.
It's wild to think about.
It is. We've built these incredibly powerful, infinitely scalable cloud architectures, right? But their decentralized nature, I mean, having data distributed across vast multi-cloud networks and, third-party vendors, it has made tracking and securing information a total logistical nightmare.
And that paradox is actually the core mission for today's deep dive. We are looking squarely at this growing crisis of cloud leakage and, more importantly, how organizations can finally, stop the bleeding.
It's a vital topic.
It really is. A roadmap for this is a fantastic, highly comprehensive article published on June 8th, 2026 by William. It's titled Data Retention Compliance, the AI Protocol to Stop Cloud Leakage.
A great read, honestly.
Absolutely. So if you entrust your personal data to corporations or, if you're the one actually responsible for protecting that data, understanding how companies manage, store, and eventually destroy digital records is just absolutely vital.
Right, because the tension here is that we are trying to police this sprawling 21st century infrastructure using deeply outdated manual methodologies. You have human operators sitting in these security operations centers, and they're attempting to manually review configurations, check permissions, update access controls, and they're doing this across entirely different cloud platforms.
Which don't even talk to each other the same way.
Exactly. An AWS environment operates under entirely different logic than an Azure environment, yet the same overworked team is expected to enforce policies perfectly across both.
Okay, let's unpack this because relying on manual monitoring for modern cloud storage is, well, it's like hiring a single security guard to watch 1,000 doors. But the doors keep changing locations and the locks change every 5 minutes.
That is the perfect analogy.
Yep.
It is an utterly impossible job.
Right. And while these IT teams are just drowning in that complexity, they are simultaneously navigating a highly aggressive regulatory minefield. We're talking GDPR in Europe, HIPAA for healthcare, CCPA in California, and these aren't just, gentle guidelines.
Oh, not at all. They're strict mandates, and they're built around the concept of data minimization. The law explicitly dictates that you can only retain sensitive personal data for as long as it serves a legitimate, necessary business purpose.
And then it has to go.
Right. The moment that purpose expires, that data must be securely purged. But in a manual environment, data just multiplies invisibly.
Oh, yeah. Someone downloads a file.
Exactly. An employee runs a report, downloads a spreadsheet of user data, emails it to a colleague, and suddenly you have 3 copies of regulated data just sitting in unmonitored local drives or like shadow cloud instances.
So the scalability problem isn't just about the volume of the original data, it's the sheer velocity of the security events surrounding it. I mean, human capacity is just completely outstripped here. The security teams develop this severe alert fatigue. When your dashboard flashes 10,000 warnings a day, you really only have the bandwidth to chase the most glaring critical alerts.
You just filter out the noise.
Yeah, and the quiet errors, like a test environment being spun up with public read access and then totally forgotten about, they slip right through the cracks until a regulatory auditor or, worse, a threat actor finds it.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the consequences of that impossible job failing, they threaten the very survival of modern businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
A massive non-compliance fine can easily bankrupt a mid-sized company. And beyond the immediate financial ruin, it just destroys the foundation of customer trust.
Yeah, that trust is so hard to get back.
Right. When users hand over their payment details or their medical histories, there is an implicit social contract that the company is actively protecting it. When that contract is breached because, an exhausted human operator missed a single checkbox on a multi-cloud dashboard, that trust evaporates instantly.
That vulnerability just demands a radical shift in strategy. I mean, if human capacity is the bottleneck here, the only logical solution is to remove human limitation from the rote monitoring equation entirely.
Precisely.
If the manual approach is fundamentally broken, the industry has to pivot to an automated one. We need an ultimate, tireless digital archivist. So we're talking about deploying artificial intelligence protocols.
Yes. AI steps into this chaotic, multi-cloud environment and acts as this continuous adaptive monitoring force that just does not suffer from alert fatigue.
It doesn't need to sleep.
Never. It utilizes complex machine learning models and NLP natural language processing to continuously scan vast data lakes. But, it goes far beyond just looking at structured data.
Like the neat little rows and columns in a database.
Exactly. The real power is its ability to ingest massive amounts of unstructured data. We're talking loose PDFs, scattered emails, Slack transcripts, random text files.
And it isn't just blindly scanning for keywords either. Williams' article really dives into the mechanics of how intelligent this process has become.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Instead of just using basic pattern matching, the AI uses NLP to actually comprehend the context of what it is analyzing.
And context is everything in data retention.
Yeah.
A standard security tool, it might flag any 16-digit number as a potential credit card.
Right, which creates a million false alarms.
Exactly. But the AI uses NLP to read the surrounding text. It understands that a 16-digit number next to the words shipping weight or tracking is perfectly harmless logistics data.
Oh, that makes sense.
But if that same 16-digit number is in proximity to the word expiration or CVV or user's name, the AI instantly recognizes it as highly sensitive PII.
Wow.
And once it categorizes that data, it automatically moves it to a secure storage tier with strict access controls and a hard-coded retention timeline.
And the self-learning aspect of this is just wild. The machine learning algorithms are constantly establishing behavioral baselines. So, if a financial analyst usually accesses 10 records a day and suddenly attempts to download 10,000 records at 3 a.m. on a Sunday,
A huge red flag.
yeah, the AI doesn't need a human to tell it that's a risk. It dynamically adjusts access privileges in real time based on that anomalous activity, basically isolating the threat before a breach even occurs.
Right. And it does that without requiring a security engineer to manually write a new rule for that specific scenario.
Yeah.
The model just adapts to the evolving risk landscape autonomously.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because as a consumer, an AI automatically locking down my data sounds fantastic.
Sure.
But if I put myself in the shoes of a corporate compliance officer, I'm terrified.
Oh, I bet.
If we unleash an autonomous AI to automatically delete sensitive data the millisecond our retention schedule expires, how on earth does the company prove to a regulatory auditor that the AI didn't just accidentally wipe out critical records required for, say, an ongoing legal hold?
Right. You can't exactly walk into a federal court and say, whoops, the algorithm ate our homework.
Exactly. That's not going to fly.
No. And that valid fear is why robust lifecycle management capabilities are the foundational pillar of these AI protocols.
Oh.
The system is designed specifically not to operate in a black box. As it automates the retention and purging processes, it generates these immutable, cryptographically secured audit trails.
So everything is tracked?
Every single action is logged. So when regulators demand an audit, the organization provides a transparent, chronological ledger detailing exactly what data was deleted, the exact timestamp of the deletion, the specific user or process that initiated it, and the precise regulatory mandate that justified the purge.
Okay, so the theory paints a picture of this infallible, perfectly documented archivist. But, academic theory rarely survives contact with the actual chaos of enterprise IT.
Very true.
Does this architecture actually hold up when the pressure is on?
Oh.
Williams' article provides some highly illuminating real-world case studies to prove this isn't just, vendor hype.
Yeah, let's look at the financial institution highlighted in the source. They were operating under incredibly strict, overlapping jurisdictional mandates.
Which sounds like a headache.
A massive one. They were dealing with both domestic SEC regulations and international data sovereignty laws. So they deployed an AI-driven information governance platform to automatically classify and retain their sensitive records across several disparate cloud environments.
And the metrics they achieved are staggering. They reported a 60% reduction in policy violations.
Which is huge.
A 60% drop in a highly regulated financial environment is massive. And they also saw a 40% decrease in the time their teams spent preparing for compliance audits.
Wow.
Simply because they could demonstrate real-time adherence with a few clicks instead of spending weeks manually compiling spreadsheets of data lineage.
And that kind of efficiency is a profound competitive advantage. The article also details a prominent healthcare provider facing a slightly different flavor of the same crisis.
Oh, healthcare data is so sensitive.
Yeah, they manage thousands of highly sensitive patient records, constantly being updated and accessed by doctors, nurses, billing departments, and all of this across multiple cloud environments.
A total.
Manual monitoring was just failing to track where the data was flowing.
Yeah.
So they implemented an AI solution specifically to scan for anomalous access patterns and unauthorized data transfers.
And the outcome there was an 80% drop in cloud security incidents related to leakage within the very first year.
Incredible.
I mean, looking at an 80% drop in incidents, you realize that isn't just an incremental software upgrade. It is a total transformation of their organizational risk posture. It basically allowed them to comfortably maintain HIPAA compliance and drastically shrink their window of exposure.
Yeah, and the underlying takeaway from both of those case studies is that deploying AI is fundamentally about operational efficiency, not just avoiding regulatory penalties.
Right.
When an organization reduces security incidents by 80%, they are liberating their human security teams. Instead of spending their days chasing down endless false positives or manually auditing access logs, those highly skilled professionals are freed up to focus on strategic, proactive security initiatives.
Hearing those success numbers really makes me wonder, why isn't every single enterprise doing this tomorrow?
Right. It sounds like a no-brainer.
If the technology is this effective, what does the actual journey of adopting it look like? Because the source material details the implementation hurdles, and it starts with a pretty brutal reality check.
It does. Organizations cannot protect what they do not know they have. The journey begins with a comprehensive and often very painful audit of the current data retention posture.
Audits.
Yeah. The IT team has to map out exactly how data is collected, stored, accessed, and deleted across every single business unit.
Which takes forever.
And they have to uncover all the dark data, the forgotten backups, the abandoned test servers, the shadow IT projects that employees just spun up to bypass slow internal processes.
Right, because if you plug an advanced AI into a chaotic, undocumented mess, you don't get compliance. You just get automated chaos at scale.
Yep.
Once they actually map their data reality, they have to select a platform tailored to their industry, prioritizing audit trails and scalability. But the real friction happens during integration, doesn't it? Bridging the gap between legacy infrastructure and modern AI is notoriously difficult.
It is the single biggest technical hurdle. You are trying to make cutting-edge machine learning tools talk to legacy on-premise servers that were installed like a decade ago.
Yeah, and APIs act like a universal translator in this scenario. You have a 2026 AI engine that speaks modern, multi-cloud architecture, trying to communicate with a 2012 internal database that basically speaks digital ancient Greek.
That's a great way to put it.
The API middleware has to translate the AI's complex data deletion commands into a language the legacy server can actually understand and execute without, crashing the whole system. It requires incredibly delicate architectural engineering to ensure seamless communication.
And what's fascinating here is that despite all that complex API architecture and technical friction, the source points out that projects rarely fail because of the code.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They fail because of the humans. Change management is the ultimate pitfall.
Of course. At the end of the day, employees still need to interact with this data to do their actual jobs.
Exactly.
If an IT department just flips a switch overnight and suddenly the AI is blocking access to files or auto-deleting old spreadsheets, it causes massive user disruption. And when users are disrupted, they rebel.
Oh, they absolutely do.
They will actively find ways to bypass the security protocols, emailing files to personal accounts, or using unapproved apps just to get their work done.
And to prevent that shadow IT explosion, organizations have to execute phased rollouts. They must proactively train their teams on the new workflows, update internal data handling policies, and establish clear feedback loops.
So it's not just a tech upgrade.
No, it requires a highly methodical approach to ensure that the human workforce adapts comfortably alongside the artificial intelligence.
So an organization survives the integration, the APIs are translating, the AI is accurately tagging PII, and the human teams are trained and onboarded.
The dream scenario.
Right. But the deep dive doesn't stop there, because neither do the tech capabilities or the regulatory laws. Looking at the future horizon outlined in Williams' article, we see the industry shifting away from merely surviving audits. The first major evolution is this move toward predictive compliance.
This is huge. Today, the vast majority of compliance is reactive. An unauthorized transfer occurs, a dashboard alert triggers, and a security team scrambles to mitigate the damage.
After the fact.
Exactly. Predictive compliance completely inverts that model. AI is increasingly leveraging advanced predictive analytics to anticipate a violation before it even materializes.
Wow.
By analyzing subtle, microscopic deviations in network traffic or user behavior, the AI can flag a high-risk anomaly and proactively lock down the data. It essentially stops the costly breach before the event even crosses the threshold of a violation.
It's basically digital precognition for compliance teams.
Yes, exactly like that.
And alongside that predictive power, we are seeing a massive need for automated cross-border data governance. As businesses become increasingly global, data is just constantly flowing across sovereign borders.
Non-stop.
Right. So a single transaction might involve a German citizen's data being processed by a UK vendor and stored on a US server. How does an organization handle the overlapping web of international regulations when, say, European privacy laws might directly conflict with American data retention mandates?
Navigating that legal tightrope manually is just impossible at this point.
I can imagine.
The future relies entirely on AI platforms equipped with dynamic data mapping and built-in jurisdictional awareness. The AI inherently understands the geographic location of the physical server, the nationality of the data subject, and the specific localized laws that apply to both.
So it does the legal math for you.
Right. It seamlessly untangles those conflicting jurisdictions, ensuring that a piece of data is handled compliantly, regardless of where it travels across the globe.
That level of autonomous decision-making brings us to arguably the most crucial evolution for the future of this technology, which is explainable AI, or XAI. We touched on the necessity of audit logs earlier, but Williams' article points out there is an intense growing demand from regulatory bodies for deep algorithmic transparency.
Oh, yes.
So why is explainable AI so critical right now? Why is the concept of a black box no longer acceptable in the eyes of the law?
Well, it's because regulatory agencies have become significantly more technologically sophisticated. When an auditor asks why a critical piece of financial data was purged, they flatly refuse to accept the computer did it. That's a valid legal excuse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As AI assumes total control over the life cycle of corporate data, deciding who gets access denied, what gets archived for litigation, and what gets permanently destroyed,
Yeah.
auditors demand to know the exact reasoning behind those actions.
They want the why.
Exactly. And explainable AI translates the complex, multi-layered logic of neural networks into plain, human-understandable English. It provides a clear, defensible justification for its automated decisions, ensuring true accountability and fostering trust with the legal entities governing the space.
So what does this all mean? If we step back and synthesize everything William laid out in this deep dive, the takeaway is pretty stark and honestly undeniable.
It really is.
Traditional manual approaches to data retention and cloud security are entirely obsolete. The sheer velocity of data creation, the sprawling complexity of multi-cloud environments, and the crushing weight of global regulations have made human-driven governance a physical impossibility.
Yeah, you just can't do it by hand anymore.
Relying on manual monitoring today leaves an organization completely exposed to catastrophic internal errors and devastating external fines. Whether you are leading a massive IT infrastructure, sitting on a corporate board, or you're simply a consumer hoping the companies you trust aren't leaving your private life exposed on a public server, the reality is clear. AI-driven automation is no longer an optional luxury upgrade. It is the mandatory baseline. It is really the only mathematically viable way to build resilience, secure sensitive information, and maintain trust in an increasingly complex digital landscape.
And as organizations rush to embrace that intelligent automation, there is a profound question lingering on the horizon. We discussed the critical necessity of explainable AI. But as these machine learning models become infinitely more sophisticated as they shift heavily into predictive compliance, analyzing billions of behavioral data points to autonomously decide what digital history a company should protect and what it must permanently purge to mitigate risk, we have to consider the limits of human oversight.
Oh, for sure.
In a future where an autonomous system independently curates our digital records, who's ultimately responsible for what a corporation remembers and what it conveniently forgets,